Okay, we'll look at part 5 of the Federalist number 8. The paragraph starts with, the expedients which have been mentioned would soon give the states or confederacies that made use of them a superiority over their neighbors. Small states or states of less natural strength under vigorous governments and with the assistance of disciplined armies have often triumphed over large states or states of greater natural strength which have been destitute of these advantages. Neither the pride nor the safety of the more important states or confederacies would permit them long to submit to this mortifying and adventitious superiority. They would quickly resort to means similar to those by which it had been effected to reinstate themselves in their lost preeminence. Thus we should, in a little time, see established in every part of this country the same engines of despotism which have been the scourge of the old world. This at least would be the natural course of things, and our reasoning will be the more likely to be just in proportion as they are accommodated to this standard. In this paragraph, what he is referring to, one of the historians said that actually in this Federalist edited by J.R. Pohl, I've shown this before to you, this historian, J.R. Pohl, brings the example of Sweden in the continent of Europe. It says there are some states that might be small, might have a small population, but they are disciplined, they are ready for war, they get their resources in order, and before you know it, they will fight the bigger states better. Sometimes they will even conquer them for a short while. And as an example, he gives the example of Sweden and Prussia. Prussia being part of the Germany before it united, because it was a militaristic part of Germany. So he says, maybe amongst our 13 states here, maybe one of them will have a smaller population or two of them will have smaller populations, but they will be disciplined, they'll be resourceful, and they will beat a bigger, more powerful state. Let's say if Georgia and South Carolina united and they beat Virginia, because Virginia is more populous, or let's say Georgia and North Carolina united and they beat Virginia. He says that maybe they'll beat the stronger state at first, but what is going to happen is that there's going to be an escalation. Then the bigger states, the more populous states, pride gets hurt, and they will try to retaliate because they are not going to stand back and have their ego hurt, have their pride hurt. So before you know it, whether we are 13 different countries and we unite in 2 or 3 areas and beat a more powerful state, more powerful country, or whether we are 3 or 4 confederacies, and 2 of the weaker confederacies unite against a stronger confederacy, they might win at first, but the stronger confederacy might retaliate in the long term. And what will happen is that every state, every new country that's made out of these 13 new states will have a standing army, and we will be just like the European countries were 3 centuries ago, always in a state of war. All our energy and everything will go to make sure that nobody attacks us, that nobody beats us. And look at this line. Thus we should, in a little time, see established in every part of this country the same engines of despotism which have been the scourge of the old world. What has been the curse on the old world? What's been the awful thing, awful situation in the old world? When he says the old world, he's talking about the continent of Europe. He says they were constantly in war, standing armies were created, and when standing armies are created, usually one man or a group of men hold all the power, and the engines of despotism, in other words, tyranny, takes over. For safety, you will give up your freedom, and he says that's what's happened in old Europe. We don't want that in this part of the world. This is a new world. This is a new experiment. We have to unite so that we won't do all the mistakes that Europeans have been doing for centuries. And again, that's why I think this is one of the most important Federalist Papers, because in our case, when we are talking about uniting the world, as long as we have standing armies, every country has standing armies waiting for the other country to attack. United States has a huge army, a huge military, wanting to make sure Russia doesn't do anything crazy. China is doing the same thing, wanting to make sure United States or India or Russia doesn't do anything crazy. And then Russia in turn does the same thing, and before you know it, this situation will spread. Pakistan doesn't trust India. India doesn't trust Pakistan. China sides with Pakistan. India sides with somebody else to make sure there's a balance of power. And all you'll have is strong militaries, and to make sure that you're so-called secure, like your leaders will lie to you, distort the facts, and say, we need to keep you secure. We need this huge army, and we need you to shut up and listen to us. We'll tell you what to talk. We'll tell you what not to say. And gradually, we'll hand our freedom away just to be secure. And before you know it, we will not be living like living up to our maximum potential as human beings, creative human beings. Because that's what makes us different from all the other living species of the world. They are all important because we are in a web of life. But what makes humanity different is that we are creative. We can better our lives and at the same time be creative in a sense and be kinder to other living forms. So that's when I say creative, I don't mean just in warfare and killing. I'm talking about creative in not only making our lives better, but make life on this planet sustainable, healthy, and I think that's the best way we can thank the Creator of the universe for this blessing we have.